here comes from Alex. How does your solution differ from SAP's Smart Forms?
Good question. The first, if I actually describe the first question that we normally get from SAP end users, it's how can I design labels faster than I do in SAP Script, or I do in Smart Forms, or I do in Adobe Forms? There must be an easier way, and this really is the answer to that question. And we basically have a label designer that really is it's like PowerPoint. We really made it look like PowerPoint. So the point is that you can really make label changes in hours rather than weeks. You don't need to do complex SAP scripting. You don't need to use Smart Forms. It's just much faster, much more like PowerPoint. Now, it's not just about making label changes faster. That's what end users normally come looking for, our customers. But it's not just about that. We do much more than just making label changes faster. It's also about digitalizing the whole quality control and quality assurance process. So, everything from reviewing labels to email alerts to quality control to comparing the differences to approval workflows. It's a complete label management system, completely. None of this you would get from SAP. So it's label design, quality control, and much more. Matthew.
Thank you. Question from Chris. What sorts of labels or documents do you support?
Ken, I will take this question. Yeah, thank you. So Misha Doblancic here, Director of Product Management. So I will take this question. Another good question, and definitely NiceLabel supports all kinds of labels you need to print out from your systems. This can be your product identification labels, this can be your shipping labels, this can be RFID tags, asset labels, and basically anything you would want to print on a barcode label printer, you can design and print from NiceLabel. But it doesn't actually need to stop at that. And many of our customers are actually utilizing NiceLabel also to print supply chain documents. And those are the documents that you would typically see printed on an A4 printer, like pick lists, delivery notes, and other documents that might contain a list of items. And the reason why they do so is because they find that the design and the integration that is available as part of NiceLabel makes the design and integration of printing much easier than other solutions.
Thank you. Question from Greg. We have to maintain a lot of SAP scripts to support our labeling needs. Would your solution improve this?
Another good question. Yeah, I think it's actually a kind of a continuation question from the previous question. Absolutely. Our label design is purpose designed for labeling needs. So it's not a basically reporting tool or a forms design tool that can be repurposed for barcode labeling, but it's been designed for that particular need. And because of that, it makes the design a lot easier for the users. And that's one of the big benefits. This design can be handled to the business users, so not just the IT. But the other important part is that those labels are very flexible and universal. So one thing, the labels can be printed to any printer. So the design is universal, and the label can be printed to any printer type you might have in your operations, which reduces the need for you to design different labels for different printers. The other neat feature is that there is a lot of functionality in NiceLabel software that allows customers to design labels with variable data and actually create layout that adjusts based on the data that's being provided. And what that does is it allows customers to really consolidate the number of label templates they have to maintain to print the labels they need to print. Actually, an example, one of our SAP customer was able to reduce the number of transport labels that they were maintaining from 300 to, I think, about 13 by transitioning to NiceLabel. So definitely a big improvement would be consolidation of the layouts you have to maintain to support your labeling needs.
Great, thank you. Question from Sean. What is the best way to integrate your solution with SAP? Does it require any programming?
Ken, I will let you take. I will let you take that question.
Good, yeah. So first of all, good question, and the answer is yes and no. It depends on the method of integration that you actually use when integrating with NiceLabel. We support standard output configurations. Now, what is a standard output configuration? A standard output configuration is basically SAP script, RDI, Smart Forms, XSF, or Adobe Forms, XFP. So we can actually integrate with existing SAP script, Smart Forms, or Adobe Forms, and you don't need to write one line of ABAP. So you can do that. We can do that out of the box, and some of our customers do that, but most don't. Most of our customers do not do that. Now I'll explain why. We also have developed, as part of our product, an ABAP package. So we've got an ABAP package. So we've actually built a complete plugin for SAP, an ABAP package that you transport to our namespace in 3 seconds. And what you get is a really, really tight, seamless integration inside SAP. You don't need to spend 3 months, 6 months, a year doing your own ABAP package. Uros SAP has actually built this ABAP package for us. The reason, what this gives you is rapid transport in 3 seconds, rapid configuration, because we've done everything for you. So, for example, outbound delivery. You could actually get outbound delivery up and running in basically a couple of minutes. You don't need to write any code because the ABAP package supports outbound delivery. It supports a number of T codes. It supports enhancement spots. We also give you an enhanced print program. So basically, you can effectively get some transactions, the common transactions, working out of the box in seconds. And the reason why you use the ABAP package versus SAP script, RDI, etc., the standard output configuration, is because the ABAP package gives you label previews inside SAP, so you can actually see the real label and preview it before you print it. Also, it's much faster. It bypasses the spooler. You don't need to go through the spooler. It bypasses the spooler and prints instantly. We call it on-demand printing, so it's much faster. So you get label previews inside SAP and much faster printing. Michel, can you add anything to that?
No, I think you covered it extensively. And I think we got quite a few questions coming in, so I want to make sure we can answer as much as we can on this call.
Great. Next question here is from Carl. Is NiceLabel just a replacement of design SAP forms, scripts, Smart Forms, Adobe Forms? Can it handle logic for data?
I will take that question, and definitely NiceLabel will replace the layouts or design tools that are provided within SAP. As I mentioned before, when you implement a label management solution from NiceLabel, you get a purpose-built label designer where you design your layouts for your label printing. That means that we are taking from the SAP, we are only taking the data, and we are marrying this data to the right label template in order to produce a printable label for your printers. You will not need to do any formatting within SAP in order to produce your labels, but we will integrate directly with the data coming from your single source of truth, SAP, to print out the labels. And the second part of the question is, can it handle logic for data? I want to extend a little bit on that question because it opens a very good topic, and this topic is about what we call business rules. So business rules are very typical requirement. Basically, every solution we implement or our customers implement has an element of business rules applied to labeling. And what are those business rules? Those can be really simple, and can be just what is the label that needs template that needs to be printed for particular material in SAP, or what label I need to produce when I'm shipping to my customer A. But they can be also more complex. So what set of languages I need to produce on the label that is shipped to a certain territory. And all those business rules can be managed within the NiceLabel. So NiceLabel integration system comes with a very powerful workflow and business rules engine that allows you to actually build on the initial set of data that is received by SAP and then apply different rules to enhance the data or select the right label, the right printer, and actually print it out as a completely automated process.
Great, thank you. Next question here is from Eric. Can you use NiceLabel Designer Pro to design the label and use it inside of SAP? Or do you have to purchase the label management system in order to integrate this with SAP?
Ken, do you want to take this one?
I'll let you take that one, Michel.
So the answer is label management system is the method we recommend for SAP integration. Designer Pro is an entry-level design software that is produced by NiceLabel, but it doesn't have any of the elements that we are utilizing for the SAP integration. When you buy a label management solution, you get the design module as well, but you also get the integration system that allows you to integrate your printing with SAP, and you get a document management system to manage the complete labeling process for your labeling. So yes, label management system is the solution that should be used with SAP, and it's also the solution that is certified with SAP.
Great. Thank you. We've got a lot of great questions so far, everyone, so keep them coming. And definitely we're going to work through as many as possible, so enter as many in the queue, and we'll answer as many as we can. Next question comes from Donnie. Do you integrate with MES systems?
So I will take this question, Matt. Thank you. It's an excellent question, and many of our customers actually end up integrating our solution with more than one system. They might actually start the project because they want to improve their printing from SAP, but they might end up integrating with many other business systems. So this could be MES systems, so manufacturing execution systems, if somebody is not familiar with the abbreviation. This can be warehouse management systems. Sometimes these are in-house build applications, and NiceLabel makes it very easy to apply one standardized labeling platform across all these business systems and print from a single source of truth, and also print from the single source of templates, so from a single source from a single repository. SAP integration is very streamlined. We have the ABAP package, but outside of that, our integration system is very configurable. So we support various means of integration. We have a simple file drop. We have HTTP, HTTPS, SOAP web services. We can connect directly to the database and databases and so on. And this really allows us to integrate with many, many different business systems and actually print labels based on transactions occurring in those systems.
Thank you. Next question is from Philippe. Do you have customers using SAP S/4HANA today? Do they migrate and continue to use NiceLabel? How difficult was it to migrate?
So Michel, I'll take this question. So So we're talking S/4HANA, and we're really talking S/4HANA on-premise versus ECC. So we support, obviously, ECC. We support the output configuration in ECC and also in S/4HANA. And I'm talking the on-premise edition. Obviously, the on-premise edition, maybe in the cloud, but it's the on-premise. So the ABAP package also supports ECC, and it also supports S/4HANA. And yes, we have got existing S/4HANA customers, and basically, we've got two ABAP packages. One ABAP package is for ECC, and the other ABAP package is for S/4HANA. And the S/4HANA one also supports Fiori. So yeah, we've got a lot of customers using S/4HANA today. And the only difference is two different ABAP packages, but they're compatible with each other. Matthew.
Great. Question from Eric. If you are not going through the SAP spooler, how are you connecting to the printer? For example, are you using XML or some other connectivity to the printers? If we choose this route, what SAP add-on package do we request from NiceLabel?
Sasho, do you want to attempt to answer that?
Thanks, Ken. Yes, I can. So the ABAP, you can understand the ABAP package as a kind of a connector between SAP and NiceLabel infrastructures. So what we do is we bypass SAP spooler in a way that the data required for label printing is collected through print programs or custom ABAP coding and delivered into the ABAP package. ABAP package is kind of an API, so you consume a method in there. ABAP package creates an XML message and sends it into NiceLabel integration system for processing. Then this integration system running on Windows computer takes an XML message and decides what to do based on the information within. And this computer actually creates a print job and sends it to the printer. So yes, there is spooler involved with printing, but it's Windows spooler on a computer running a NiceLabel integration system. That's how we bypass the SAP spooler, so there is no interaction with SAP spooler unless you want it to be. There can be feedback interaction, so the status is about the processing, print previews, or even print jobs can be returned back into SAP spooler. So you can also track label printing done by NiceLabel inside SAP spooler if you want to. It's an optional feature that you have to enable otherwise. I hope this answers the question.
Thank you. This question is from Philippe. What are the differences between NiceLabel and Loftware?
Ken, do you want to take this one? Hello? Can you hear me? Mats, can you hear me?
Oh, it looks like Ken dropped off here.
Okay, then I will continue. So the question is about one of our competitors, Loftware. And the answer is yes, Loftware is one of the companies we compete often in our space. So they are US based, they are focused solely on the enterprise market, whereas NiceLabel has a solution set that goes from the biggest global enterprises, but also scales down to smaller customers. One of the things that we think has the biggest differentiator for us against Loftware is the technology. We do believe we have superior technology, which is more future-proof than Loftware's. Specifically, we are talking about modern web-based technology. All our web-based technology is fully HTML5. So we don't require any plugins or anything to provide the functionality in the browser, whereas Loftware Spectrum solution uses a Flash plugin, which these days is not a recommended technology, or it's basically a technology that is being deprecated. So one of the big differences is the technology, especially the heart, the label, the document management system, which is, as I said, I think a couple of years ahead of our competition. The other areas are label designer. So our label designer is much more feature rich, and we also believe much more user friendly for users because it really replicates the Office experience to make sure that the customers are very quick to get up to speed and familiar with the solution. Then there are some differences, obviously, on the number of devices we support. NiceLabel is the biggest manufacturer of printer drivers for label printers in the world. We have exclusive relationships with the biggest hardware manufacturers in the world. So Zebra and Sato, those are customers that actually ship their printers with NiceLabel technology. So drivers provided for Zebra printers and drivers provided, for example, for Sato printers are actually built by NiceLabel. And that really helps us, these relationships helps us to really understand the hardware that these companies produce best and provide the best solution for those printers in the market. So no other technology in the world drives as many Zebra printers as NiceLabel does. So these are just a couple of differentiations. We also have a very strong presence in Europe. We have headquarters in Europe, so we have a lot of people in Europe. We have multilingual support for many European companies. We have strong service delivery team both in Europe, in US, as well as in APAC. So we have, I think, a very strong position against Loftware, as well as some other smaller competitors in the market.
Question here from Joe. Is triggering the label printing controlled by standard SAP output control across the modules? Is there some type of cockpit for on-demand printing?
Sasha or Uresh, I would ask you to answer this question, please.
So hi, this is Uroš. So label printing can be triggered. So we actually have a few outputs already delivered out of the box in the ABAP package. So the printing can be triggered out of the several outputs, for example, a delivery or a production order print, for example. But in general, the printing can be triggered also from different, let's say, points inside the standard programs. Either that's enhancement points, user exits, bodies. So the ABAP package actually works as it's an API, so it's a class. It has several methods, and you can integrate basically this everywhere in the code where is needed.
All right. Next question here from Dennis. Is your ABAP package compatible with S/4HANA?
I think we covered that question earlier. Absolutely. Our ABAP package is compatible with S/4HANA, and we have productive customers running on S/4HANA as we speak.
Next question is from Jose. Does the ABAP package support bidirectional communications?
Sasha, you want to take this one?
Yeah, by all means. ABAP package was designed to be bidirectional. So the outbound connectivity from SAP towards the integration system can be configured as a web service call, or SOA, or it can be RFC type G, so external HTTP connection. So, and both of them are bidirectional by default. So the types of answers that you could expect from the integration systems are perhaps label preview, print job, so ZPL as such, list of available labels, list of available printers on the automation side, and various other elements, including status of printing. So if something goes wrong during the processing of the data received from SAP, inside the integration system, we know about that. We know what happened, we know why the error occurred, and we deliver the feedback back into SAP so that you also receive it on your side. And then it's up to you how you will deal with it. Will you display it to the user? Will you notify somebody in charge? So yes, there is a feedback coming back from the integration system.
Sasha, let me just extend on that. The way I actually describe this is there's a whole bunch of stuff coming back into SAP, and there's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is we're putting feedback into the spooler, into SP01, so we can feed the status of the print job. We can feed a print preview. We can even feed the binary commands that went to for example, Zebra printer or Sato printer into SP01. So we really support SP01 on steroids. So there's a whole bunch of feedback going into SP01. And again, you can decide how much, if anything. Also, the other feedbacks, we've actually developed the ABAP package over the last 5 years, and we've been getting feedback from our customers. And some of our customers actually wanted, the big one was the label previews inside SAP, not just for print preview, but also for label approval, to be able to approve labels, to be able to approve SKUs. If you want to approve an SKU inside SAP, you need to be able to see it, so you need to be able to preview it. So that was one of the big things that was asked for. Then some of the other stuff that was asked for was, can we basically do a sort of a query from SAP to the document management system and get a list of the printers, and get a list of the labels, a list of the documents, a list of the variables in each label or each document. So there's a whole bunch of bi-directional capabilities that you can do for the spooler, or if you're doing a really tight integration. Matthew.
Yes, thank you. Next question here is from Rick. When you say that the NiceLabel ABAP package bypasses the print spooler, what do you mean? Don't you still need a Windows print spooler that the drivers run off of?
I will take that question. I think this was a little bit of misunderstanding. The ABAP package bypasses the SAP spooler. It actually executes requests via the web services directly to our integration system and doesn't need to go through the print spooler. And the benefit is you get faster label out, and as well as you get an immediate bidirectional communication to the SAP system. That said, the print system, the integration system from NiceLabel does run on Windows, and it would print via the print spooler of that Windows print server. So we do bypass the SAP spooler.
Question here from Dennis. Has NiceLabel successfully completed an ABAP integration to the S/4HANA single-tenant cloud edition?
Yes, I will answer this question. Yes, we have done such integration.
Now, Micho, if I'm correct, that doesn't use the ABAP package because that's S/4HANA Cloud. Is that correct?
No, it's S/4HANA Single Tenant Cloud Edition.
Okay.
So it is basically the S4. My understanding is this is S/4HANA deployed basically in private cloud.
Yeah, this is Uro speaking. So the single tenant edition is actually Java based. So on the Java based systems, which is running in the cloud, we cannot install the SAP ABAP package. So for the single tenant edition, we don't have a.
Yeah, that was my understanding. That was my understanding. That's why I was just correcting it. It's actually it's not basically, this is not S/4HANA on premise. It doesn't use the ABAP package, but we have done it.
Thank you, guys.
Next question from Nancy. You mentioned that LMS works with S/4HANA, and then that you have an ABAP package for ECC and S4. What about EWM, SCM?
Great question, and we've actually, in fact, Uroš, SAP. I'll let you take that one.
Thank you very much, Ken. So if you're talking about EWM, it's still ABAP based. So we are supporting also integration on EWM systems. it's the same because ABAP package is serving as a bridge between SAP world and NiceLabel automation system. So yes, in a nutshell, we support also EWM, and we have a customer also using ABAP package.
Yeah. And because there's also a story, Urosh, where we actually have developed, what is it called, PFF or something like that, some sort of a function?
EWM uses a PPF framework, so it's a post-processing framework where we can configure our own printing function modules, methods, and from these ones, the printing is then triggered to NiceLabel.
Next question here is from Derek. Can you do on-demand printing outside of SAP?
Excellent question. I will take this one. We answered a similar question, I believe, before, which was related, can we integrate with other systems outside of SAP? And this is a similar question. Absolutely. A lot of our customers, they need to integrate printing with SAP and maybe other business systems, but in many cases, they actually need some bespoke applications that maybe just need to connect to a database in order to cover a particular labeling process. And for that part, we have a unique application builder, which is a module inside the LMS. And this really allows you, or even our customers or our professional service team or our partners, to rapidly build streamlined applications, streamlined on-demand label printing applications for the purpose. And those applications can have, really very, very customized user interface that is very easy to use, that serves the particular process, prevents any operator errors, and so on. So it's very, very easy to do on-demand printing outside of SAP by leveraging NiceLabel Application Builder.
Next question here is from Carl. Is the SAP ABAP package licensed by printer count?
I will take that question. The NiceLabel LMS system is licensed by printer count. So when you purchase the NiceLabel label management system, you have to obtain a license for the printers you're going to use with that solution. The ABAP package doesn't incur any additional cost, but is supplied as part of our label management system enterprise or our label cloud business editions. So the answer is basically the solution is licensed by printer count, but there isn't a specific additional licensing cost to use the ABAP package.
Great, thank you. Next question from Philippe. Do you have customers that were using SAP GLM? How did they migrate to use NiceLabel? Do you have tools to help the migration?
I will attempt to answer that. So just GLM, Global Label Management, basically really SAP's solution for chemical labeling, EH&S, environmental health and safety, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, the examples that I've sort of given is people really are migrating from, for example, SAP script to NiceLabel Smart Forms to NiceLabel Adobe Forms to NiceLabel. And the other one that we see is GLM to NiceLabel. So they still use the risks and phrases, the E and HS data, but they don't use Windows Word integration for designing labels. Windows Word integration is really, nearly as bad as smart forms for designing labels. So our customers go from GLM to NiceLabel, but they still use all of the GLM data, the phrases, but they don't use Word to do the label design. Matthew.
Question from Subash. Can we print existing SAP scripts and smart forms that have already been developed through the ABAP package?
And I'll take that one as well. And the answer is yes. So first of all, I tried to describe earlier that we support standard output configuration. So for example, existing SAP script, we can take existing SAP script, we can take, it's called RDI, for SAP script, where basically we take paired values from the existing SAP script. It's all done via configuration, no coding, and we lose all of the formatting information, and we basically just take the paired values and we can print that way. Same with smart forms. It's called XSF. It's basically XML, where you remove the formatting information. Same with Adobe Forms, it's called XSP, removes the formatting information. So we can do that. So we can basically take existing SAP scripts or existing smart forms, etc. We can print without doing anything. But we can also basically use enhancement spots. We can basically take a copy of the print program and enhance that, and we can use the ABAP package if we want a much tighter integration. Again, we have customers that do both. Most of our customers would use the ABAP package because they want to get the previews inside SAP. Some want to do approval workflows inside SAP. They want to update the spooler inside SAP, not just with the status, but also actually with a preview of the print job, etc., etc. So the answer is yes.
Next question here comes from Jacqueline. What printers do you support, and what languages can you print in?
Okay, I will take that question. I think I touched on it before. NiceLabel supports more than 4,000 printers. I think probably more than 80 different families. With our own drivers, so the drivers that are developed in-house. That is all the common label printers from brands like Zebra, Sato, Honeywell, CAB, TSC, everything you would expect. And outside of that, we also support different printing technology. It's not just the thermal label printers. We support continuous inkjet. We support direct marking printers. We even support some laser etching devices. We support color inkjet printers, label printers from Epson, for example, color label printers. And outside of that, we also support any other printer that has a Windows driver. And that basically covers the complete set, also the desktop printers you might use for documents and so on. So this is the answer to the what printers, but I think the other one, what languages, is probably what natural languages we can print, and this is also the answer is we can print in any language. We can with our software fully support Unicode. So if you need to print in languages that go right to left, or if you need to print Japanese, Chinese characters, these are fully supported. And we do understand that some customers migrating from an SAP labeling solution, they found this really beneficial, or it really helped them print Unicode labels in different languages that they need to print on their labels.
Thank you.
You would use the business to select, what language, etc., etc. Matthew.
Question here from Catherine. Is it possible to run a transaction but delay printing?
Oh, it's an excellent question, Ken. I would like to take this one. Because we recently had a customer where this was exactly the case they used. And the case is, in some cases we see customers want to execute transaction in SAP. So when they're processing their production orders, but the labels their labels are not printed at the moment. And the solution in this case definitely can be served by NiceLabel. The customers can utilize ABAP package, but as part of the transaction, the ABAP package wouldn't actually request our integration system to print the label, but they would store the requested label job in a queue to be processed at a later time. And then for that later process, the customers can use one of the applications that they can build with our application builder to actually very efficiently process those production orders and get the labels printed. That particular customer, as I'm talking about, I think they actually do this process a week in advance, so the labels might actually print a week later after the transactions in SAP has been executed. And one additional benefit of the process is that it also decouples the label production from the SAP. So if, for example, the customers have a 24/7 production and SAP has maybe service windows where it's not accessible, they can still run their production and they can still print the labels even if the central SAP is not accessible at that particular point in time. So very good question, and I hope I provided a good answer to it.
Next question here is from Peter. Does the ABAP package transmit a predefined list of tables/fields for a specific transaction code? Does this enable plug and play? How would you add additional data elements in the transmission?
So I will attempt to answer that, and maybe Uros SAP can help me. So basically, when we actually connect a T code to labeling, we would actually we have an enhancements bot and maybe a modified print program. We would actually pass all of the fields to the label design, and when you're designing the label, you would see all of the SAP fields in that transaction in the label designer. You may not want to use them all, but you would see all of them so that you could easily add any other fields in the future. We sort of describe that as a best practice. Uros SAP, Sasho, do one of you guys want to sort of elaborate on that?
Okay, so there is a question, how do we transmit all the fields for a specific transaction code? So in SAP, so each transaction code has its own specific structures behind it. So what we do inside the ABAP package is we dynamically scan the structures, either it's a print structure or let's say an internal structure where the transactional data is stored. And we dynamically extract all the attributes, so the fields and the values. So basically, the data stream going to the NiceLabel automation system is presented as let's say, a key value pair. So a field and a value. This is how the data is then transferred to the automation system. So each transaction has its own structure, but the stream is different based on the fields that are contained in the structures. This is how the data is extracted.
And so add that. Yeah, Ken, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sasha, please.
I just wanted to add that this is one part of the story, so how the data is sent out of SAP into NiceLabel. But then you also have control over these fields on the label template itself. So it's just user definable which fields from the payload from SAP are going to be used on the label or not. So technically, it goes in a way that if you define a variable on a label template with the same name as field coming from SAP, the match is found by name, and that variable on a label template gets a value. So a best practice approach would be that you scan the whole data structure in your SAP transaction and send all key value pairs into the ABAP package. And then you are future-proof. If you would need some additional fields printed on a label at a future time, all you have to do is just define a variable of the same name inside the label template, and it will get value automatically when printing out. So the mapping takes place by names. Names from fields in SAP and variables on a label template must match. Ken?
Matthew.
Next question here is from Hans. How would you integrate PPF and NiceLabel?
Uros SAP, you can imagine who I'm going to answer.
Thanks, I can take this question. So in the PPF, you can basically plug in your own function modules and class methods. So the integration works this way. So we would have a function module in place, which then takes the transactional data and triggers the call to the NiceLabel automation system. And this would be packed in one function module, let's say, for example. And you could plug in this function module inside a correct, let's say, application inside the PPF and the step. And according to some conditions, this would be triggered. So it would be actually a completely standard integration using the standard SAP configuration tables in PPF with our own function module in place, let's say.
Matthew.
Thanks.
All right. Question here. Question from Philippe. Do you have something like a kit to start labeling for regulations like GHS Global Harmonization System and SAP, or a community that can help ramp up quickly on 10 to 20 templates that are required for our worldwide business?
Michaud?
An excellent question. So yes, definitely, we can help you get started faster. So as part of the solution, we provide a various number of assets that help you, sample labels for various regulations that help you, that serve as a starting point. But outside of that, we are a full solution provider, which means that we have a global service team that is, its purpose is to help customers implement our solution. And this can mean everything from integrating your SAP systems, deploying our solution, as well as helping you with designing your label templates. And besides that, NiceLabel also has a global community of partners around the world. And those partners are normally very skilled with NiceLabel, and they can also, provide value-added services like the one you're describing here.
Question from Ryan. How long does it take to implement your system?
I will take this question as well. The benefit of our system, I think one of the benefits is it is very quick to implement and allows to minimize disruption to your business. Typically, the implementation time might vary from project to project, but if we take SAP integration, for example, normally the whole deployment of our solution can be done within a day, and the basic integration established, so you can be printing your labels out of the SAP. And then when the final integration is complete, then we also need to understand what is the number of labels you need to design, what are the transactions you need to wire our integration into. But getting started is very rapid because the ABAP package is a very easy transport into your SAP system. The installation of our solution is very straightforward. It's worth noting that also we have a multi-tenant cloud solution that we can deploy in minutes, and that further reduces the time to market. So it is very fast to implement. As I said, the initial deployment can be very well done within a day. And then from then on, it really depends on how much work is required to migrate your labeling to our platform.
And Michaud, I just wanted to add a little bit to that. You mentioned the multi-tenant public cloud. So that's basically there. It can be, it can be spun up for you in seconds, basically. And some of our I would say smaller SAP customers actually use the multi-tenant cloud. We've got a number using multi-tenant cloud connected to, S/4HANA on-premise, but, in the cloud. So I just wanted to make that point. One other point I wanted to make, just with regards to services, the amount of services. Now that varies. There's some customers that we're in there, we get it up and running, and it's done in days. And there's also customers that we do much more services for, you know, where we basically help them build like a complete label cockpit inside SAP. They don't just want to print labels or preview labels inside SAP. They want to have entire workflows, and they want to approve labels and archive label previews inside SAP for every single SKU. And that's common for some life science companies, i.e. medical device and pharmaceuticals. So, you know, the services can be more for these guys. Again, it depends on the industry. Matthew.
Great. We've got time for one or two more questions here as we're coming to the end of the hour. Question from Chris. Do you support color printers?
Yes, I think we mentioned on the printer support. Yes, we support color printers out of the box.
Yeah, and I would just basically add that we support color inkjet printers. We also support you know, some color thermal transfer printers such as CAB. So yes.
Question from Marcus. How do you review and approve labels?
Micho, do you want to take that or do you want me?
Please, Ken.
Okay, so I actually just touched on that a few seconds ago. So there's actually two ways of doing what we call workflows, you know, reviewing and approving labels. Some life science companies tend to actually do it inside SAP. In fact, what they actually tell us is previews, you know, went from a nice to have to a must have because they need the previews inside SAP to actually approve every SKU. So some life science companies do it inside SAP. You can do that. You can do the workflows inside SAP if you want. You can also do the workflows in the NiceLabel document management system, so you can actually approve the SKUs or the templates inside NiceLabel. Micho, anything you can add to that?
Yeah, I think one very important point is that our document management system, and unfortunately we haven't spent a lot of time talking about document management system, it comes with a full document management capabilities, which means that we completely version all the documents, all the templates that you will use for labeling across the organization. So every label version is stored, and you've got complete traceability on labels. Outside of that, you can also store your graphic files, your symbols, and things like this as part of our document management system. And on top of that central repository, we also have workflows, approval workflows that allow customers to approve those label templates before they are actually printable in the production. And so this is really to make sure that we capture that, yes, the approval of the label templates normally happens inside of NiceLabel document management system. And then, as you mentioned, SAP can integrate with the document management system. It can, obviously, it would normally use the approved templates, but you can further actually define which approved version an SAP transaction is using and so on. So you can actually apply for further approvals on both the data and the label as part of your SAP integration.
Question here from John. Can we keep a history of all labels printed?
Well, that's an excellent question. I see we're getting to some quality-related questions now. Absolutely, another aspect of our document management system is it doesn't only serve as a repository for your labels and your role-based access management to the solution, but it also keeps the history, electronic history of all the labeling activities. So every label ever printed across NiceLabel LMS environment is securely locked in our system, and customers can drill down to specific transactions and actually see electronic representation of the label that was printed, as well as all the data that was provided for the label, when the label was printed, who initiated the label printing, and so on. So complete transparency over all label printing activity, whether it originates from SAP, from one of the on-demand applications that we discussed earlier, from MES system, or anything else.
Question here from Greg. Is IT required to design the label?
I'll answer that, Michel.
Yes, please, Ken.
So, you know, we basically obviously speak to IT all the time, and most of the time IT want to keep control. They actually do want to keep control. They don't want the business user to design labels, but it's not black and white. What IT want is an easy way, a faster way to design or to change labels. But it is also possible that you could offload label design to the business users. It's not black and white. Some, I would even say most businesses, that they actually IT want to keep control, but we also see some business users, in other words, non-IT, actually designing labels in SAP. Michel, can you add anything to that?
Yeah, Ken, I would like to expand, because I think the question is it required? And it's definitely not required. I think we spent some time talking about the ease of use we built into our label designer, and that the purpose is to actually empower also the business users to be able to do label design. So absolutely, IT is not required as it was required in, you know, the subscript or smart forms solution that customer might be using before. But that said, you know, what is the group of people that are going to do label design once the LMS solution is implemented? That varies from project to project. Some customers actually offload it to the business users, and in some customers, in this case, kind of within IT, but even if it does stay within the IT, they can be much more efficient. And normally we do see that the amount of label changes this team has to work on is dramatically reduced, because they can actually design those templates to be much more universal and much more flexible with the NiceLabel solution.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for in today's webinar. Thank you, everyone who joined. Shortly after the live event, we're going to send you an email reminder to access this presentation on demand, so you can rewatch it, you know, review all the questions answered. So on behalf of SAP Insider and NiceLabel, thank you for your time and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.